going on, guys? It is Rinne-Hatake here, back with another video, and today I got what if Deku was able to use sun breathing, or in other words, what if Deku can use sun breathing? And I did mention this would be like what if Deku was the pillar of hope, so you can also call this what if that if you really want to. But with all that out the way, let's finally begin this what if scenario. So where I'm gonna start this off is, well, a little prologue, I should say. Izuku, a young child. When he was born, he was born to his mother, Inko. Inko, in this timeline, being an actual hero, because her telekinetic abilities were much more enhanced and much more powerful. As Inko met up with All Might. All Might, who is now, well, the father of Izuku, and basically the husband of Inko, are now both like a superhero duo, as they had two children. Those two children being Izumi and Izuku, as Izuku was the oldest child basically. As when they were growing up, they had much more of a lively childhood, or Izuku did basically. Since he never really had much family besides his mom, this was much more of a change than in canon. So he now has a dad and a mom. Well, he originally had a mom, but he just didn't really have a dad. But, tangent aside, Izuku grew up much more differently. Being more happy and, just being an overall kid in general. He's just being a kid and just living his life out. But now we start where I want to begin. As Izuku and Izumi woke up, as Izumi yells or looks at her brother saying, "Izuku, it's time! It's time to go to the quirk doctor. We're gonna get our quirks today." As Izuku looks at her saying, Yeah, it's time! Let's go wake mom and dad up!" As they basically both ran into the mom and dad's room, as they're both still sleeping heavily. As Izuku and Izumi count up to 3, saying 1, 2, 3, as they jumped up into the air saying, "Mom! Dad! Wake up!" as they landed on the bed, waking both their parents up. As both of their parents were very shocked, as Inko basically scratches her eyes saying, "You two, what are you doing up so early?" As Izuku replies saying, "Mom, it's time. It's time to go to the quirk doctors to get our quirks checked." As Inko then just remembers saying, "Oh, yes, you're right. We'll head out today, alright? But you need to wait, because we're gonna have some breakfast first, alright?" As both of the two twins get very excited, as they quickly head over and showered, and just got ready. And they sat at the table excitedly, just excited. Overall, they're a ball of joy right now. They're just really happy and energetic, as All Might finally got up and got to the dinner table, or the table, saying, "Kids, it's alright, you don't need to be so excited. I just hope you all get quirks, alright?" As Inko also adds in, "Alright, enough hero talk. Let's just finish our food and then we'll talk about this." As while the two were eating, they were speaking of hypothetical things that could possibly happen, as, they could possibly get this quirk or that quirk. But we have a little time skip to when they finally arrive, as Inko drives the two twins to the quirk doctor's office, or basically the hospital, as they set up an appointment for the quirk doctor, as Inko sat down on a chair, just waiting for the doctor or the nurse to call him out. As soon enough, they were called out by the nurse, as the nurse looks over at her page saying, Miss Inko, or actually Miss Yagi, and Izumi Yagi, I need you guys to head over to the doctor's office, as the doctor wants to see you. As now they all get up, as Inko looks at the twins saying, "Come on kids, let's go." As they basically head over, and the doctor completes his little examination about the twins. As the doctor comes in, with a bit of sadness in his face, saying, Miss Inko, there's good news and bad news. As Inko looks a little bit worried, saying, what is it? Are my kids alright? As the doctor, Sumiyoshi, basically looks at her saying, yes, your kids are alright. But there's good news and there's bad news. So, which will it be? Good news or bad news? As Inko, says, bad news. Just preparing herself for the worst. As as the doctor, Sumiyoshi, basically tells her that her son, Izuku Midoriya, Izuku Yagi, is born quirkless. As Izuku hears the word quirkless, he drops his All Might toy figure. And he's just there, in the face of shock, as he turns to his mom. As she was shocked too, but not as shocked as Izuku. As Izuku felt an arrow just an arrow straight through his heart. He just felt something ache in his heart. As he felt hurt beyond belief. As then, the doctor Sumiyoshi thinks that this is the worst part of his job, breaking kids like this. He doesn't want to do this, but he has no other option but to do so. But we continue, as the doctor now announces Izumi's quirk and how it's so powerful and how she can be a great hero, and some of its capabilities. I'm just gonna call this quirk Telekinetic Boost, and this quirk is a super strong telekinetic power or ability, and it's based off her mom's quirk, the telekinesis quirk. But, this one's much more stronger and has more capabilities, such as boosting physical capabilities. But we continue, as now Izuku looks straight at his sister and gives her a little smile that Izumi didn't really see. As Izumi got picked up quickly by her mom, as her mom spins her around and around, saying, Izumi, you're gonna be a great hero! And starts boosting her ego insanely hard, just boosting her ego. As her ego just increases and increases, and she just became really, really egotistic. But, she just had a little moment there, but she went back to reality and they moved on with their lives, basically. As Izuku was there, still shocked, as tears rolled down his face, as he now feels neglected, or just neglected for the first time in his life. His mom wouldn't really ignore him like this. His mom, the first sight that he's crying or is hurt, his mom would always be there. But this is the first time his mom ever ignored him. And this really got to the poor boy. Sumiyoshi shakes his head and looks at the boy with pity, saying, Kid, it's alright. You can still be a hero. There's no need to doubt yourself. You still want to be a hero, right? As Izuku looks teary-eyed at the man, as he says, Yes, I still want to be a hero, more than anything. As Sumiyoshi looks at him saying, well, kid, you can do it. I know you can. There's nothing you can't do if you put your mind to it. As, Sumiyoshi basically gives Izuku a book, an ancient relic passed down from his family. He knows he wasn't really able to master it. His grandfather, his great-great-grandfather, Tanjiro Kamado, wrote facts about sun breathing. And, Tanjiro Kamado is like, I don't know if he's the reincarnation of Yorochi, but for this specific what if, he's gonna be Yorochi's, Yorochi's, reincarnation or something like that. Or just inherits Yorochi's power and will. But we move from this, as, Izuku doesn't really know what this book is about, but takes it with kindness, or just takes it full of gratitude, saying, thank you very much. But before the doctor could explain, Izuku already left. As Sumiyoshi, just facepalm saying, kids these days. They're always in such a rush. as Izuku doesn't really know what this book is about, but he does know that this could potentially help him with hero life. As we now move throughout the years, as Izuku had now found himself new bullies, his sister and his former friends, Shoto, Todoroki, Shoka, Katsumi, and Katsuki Bakugo, and his own flesh and blood sister. As now he has been bullied for many years, as he hides his power from his sister and his friends, as he knows he can easily destroy his friends and his sister, because he's been training for 10 years straight consecutively. As he's been training for so long, Izuku has grown very, very strong in legit muscle, in muscle build, and well, his insane durability, strength, stamina, speed, and all that. He's insane. So his build isn't, let's just say, his build isn't that beefy, because if he was too beefy and too much muscle, he wouldn't really be able to move as much as he would like to, since, wielding a sword, you need to have speed and strength and precision, but without the speed part, you can't really defeat your opponents, even with just brute strength. So Izuku is built pretty nicely, actually. I'd say his build is like, I'd say he'd be built like, who would he be built like? I'd say he'd be built like a Rengoku or some. Yeah, he'd be built like a Rengoku or Tengen. Yeah, he'd be built like Tengen, since Tengen is really fast and is incredible with sword play. So is, well, the fire Hashira, Rengoku. But we move from all that, as now Izuku is in the last day of his middle school, and he's basically there with his friends. And this isn't the same trashy school that he was in. This is Aldera Junior. This is Aldera Middle School, as this was a pretty popular school in Japan and was a hotspot for potential new heroes to go to the number one UA, the number one hero school, UA. So yeah, so they basically attend there, as the teacher comes in and tells it to class. As the teacher comes in, telling the class to quiet down, saying, "All right, class, settle down. I know you all want to be heroes, but it's time for you to start thinking about your life." So I'ma hand these papers out, as he was just like, psych, throwing them in the air, saying, "Cause I already know you're all entering the hero course." As everyone just burst their quirks out, as everyone's quirk just started flailing their quirks around, except 5 students. As you already know those 5 students, including Izuku. But Izuku was mentioned by the teacher, as the teacher looks at Izuku saying, "Ah, Izuku Yagi, you're also entering UA?" As Katsuki was about to do, his insane monologue, but before he could, as he heard, well, what the teacher said, he basically ran up to Deku's desk, slamming an explosion on his desk, saying, "Deku, you damn nerd, you're not going to UA. Take that application form and destroy. You're not going to UA. Back off, or else you're gonna get it." As Shoto, Shoka, and Izumi also tuned in, insulting him and just, making him feel even worse about himself. As now, Izuku has the worst self-esteem possible. So anyways, we continue. As I said before, he was signing up, gets reactions from, his former friends and his former, actually still his sister, as, they finished the class and they basically had the same, interaction with Bakugo, or Deku had the same interaction with Bakugo. But this time, he got 5 people on him. As pause. But they got 5 people on him, and they basically burned his analysis book, threw it out the window, and just told him to take a swan dive off the roof. And that was not Bakugo this time. This was Izumi, as they left the room and walked the hallway for 5 minutes. But, they all started yelling at Izumi because they actually didn't really want to do that. They just wanted to stop him from becoming a hero. As Izumi wanted to stop him from becoming a hero, and yet again, her personality of a god complex kind of stepped in, as she didn't want Izuku to become a hero due to her god complex, but she still loves her older brother in some way, trying to protect him. But I don't really think bullying him would actually do any good. But anyways, tangent aside, we continue. As Deku, now even more motivated, trained harder, found a beach to train on, and started cutting up any piece of rubbish he can, practicing his moves, as he created the first move for his sun breathing. As he breathes in, and breathes out, saying, sun breathing, first form, rising sun, as he basically uses, the line, the death line sung from Zoro. He basically kind of replicates that move, but with flames, as he cuts really fast, as he basically goes right through the rubbish. As in anime fashion, he puts his blade back, and once you hear the click, the burst of flame instantly happens as that pile of rubbish was slashed in half. That's basically his first move, the rising sun, as he makes up new moves as he does his second moves. As he breathes in again, as he breathes out, saying, sun breathing, second form, the dawn of the dragons. I don't know, came up with a name, and I told you these are not based off canon, these are my personal, named moves. As he basically does the constant flux, but the Himiko Kagura style, which is the sun breathing, so he basically just spins around to create more force in his attack, and his attack is then added with extra force when the dragon combines with the blade. Basically what Tanjiro did when he fought that guy with the string abilities, or the string demon. That's basically it. As he created like 5 moves for this. I'm gonna limit it to 5 because, I don't know, I don't really want to continuously say 9 at the time. But we shall continue with more later on if you really want to see the series continue. But we move. As, Izuku created another move, calling it the bursting flames. I don't know. You can think of the third move. I thought of 2 guys, so you guys can comment down 3 other names for the third, the fourth, and the fifth. I don't really know what to call the third, so let's just leave it at 2 forms for now. You guys can make up your own name and comment it down below, and I will pick one for the third breathing, fourth breathing, and the fifth. So you guys can comment that down below. But tangent aside, Izuku created these moves of his own, basically basing them off the sun as it is in the name, sun breathing. But he was training on Dagomon Beach as All Might saw him. His father saw him, but Izuku was actually wearing a disguise or so, just to disguise him from others. As he's wearing like a what's it called again? A kimono specifically for samurai kind of thing. He's basically wearing Yorochi's kimono, and basically he had long hair. I must say he changed his look up a little bit. In the 10 months, he hasn't really spent time with his father, his mother. He hasn't really spent any time with them since, they neglected him, so he won't show them any love and respect, or as much love and respect as he would have. So he basically rented his own apartment, left, and changed up his look, turning himself to be a similar look to Yorochi, basically similar to Yorochi, but, moving on. As All Might watched carefully as Izuku used his blade in such a graceful way, as the blade touches anything, it was cut. Izuku's moves were so graceful, All Might just watched for hours on end, until he snapped out of it, saying, you're not allowed to use your quirk, in public spaces, young man. As Izuku, not knowing it was his father, looked at him, as his father didn't recognize him, due to his long hair and all. So, Izuku then looks at him saying, I don't really have a quirk, I just use my sword. As All Might was surprised, to hear that from the boy. Just brute strength in general to barrel through all these scraps of metal that are pretty hard to actually cut with any blade, since the blade would go dull, and, well, you'd need to get a new one. So, All Might was still rather shocked to hear such a thing from the boy, and just lets him continue training. But All Might also asks if he can train here with his disciple. So, on the next day, when Izuku came to train, he saw All Might there, training with his beloved daughter, Izumi. As Izumi still remembers his brother, or her brother, remembering what she said to him, and she felt even more down in the dumps than she did before. But she concentrated and showed her insane capabilities with her new telekinetic powers, as she even showed the boost in strength it could give. But she isn't able to max out the strength boost that it can give, since her body isn't really prepared for such a thing. So the boost in strength she can actually give was about 15% as of now, and that's a really massive increase if you think about it. But she can only do this in a certain amount of time, and that time limit is about 30 or 25 minutes. That's a pretty long time to stay boosted up, but she can only use like one at a time. She can use her telekinetic abilities, but she can't use them while she's boosted with physical strength, because that kind of drains her time limit, limiting her to only 3 minutes with how strong the power of her telekinetic abilities would get. So she's pretty strong, but yet at the same time has a lot of drawbacks. But we continue. As now, well, Izuku sees him and decides to not go to the beach, but All Might spots him, saying, "Ah, young man, you came back to train with us." As Izuku looks at the man with an emotionless look, and says, "Yeah, but you guys are training, so I won't disturb you. I'll be going now." As All Might stops him, saying, "Come on, why don't you come out here and spar with my pupil?" As, well, the daughter of All Might looks at, well, not Yorochi, but looks at Deku, as she kind of sees some similarities. But Deku changed his hair color to represent more of a reddish, blackish kind of color. You see, that's basically what he changed it to. But, I didn't really do that in the thumbnail. I just made Izuku look like a total beast in the thumbnail. What you think about the thumbnail? Comment what you think about it. But anyways, we continue from this. As now, Izuku begins to spar with Izumi, obviously holding back a whole ton as he lets Izumi win. But All Might looks at him saying, "Alright, that's enough. Stop holding back and go all in." As Izuku looks at her saying, "Alright, you want me to go all out then? I'll show you my power." As Izuku finally got his blade out, just a tiny bit, as he breathes in, as Izumi just thinks this won't really make a difference. So she used her telekinetic ability to beat him last time, so she's gonna use the physical boost it gives this time. As he tries to charge in, but in an instant, a red ray, basically a flames in the style of ribbons, basically comes towards her. As I have now thought of the third move, as he yells, sun breathing, third form, fiery dance, or something like that. The dance of the phoenix, yes, the dance of the phoenix. As he basically dances, or just uses the Himiko Kagura dance in such a graceful way within his blade attacks, dodging and weaving all of her attacks and basically putting the blade to her neck. Not touching her neck, but she can feel the warmth of the blade, as the blade was lit on fire. As All Might knows that if he lets this go on, her daughter or his daughter is actually gonna get clapped by this kid. So this kid, he's telling him to back up a little. So All Might stops the fight, saying Izuku Midoriya, or this random young man wins. As, well, the man asks, "What's your name, kid?" Izuku looks at him saying, "You'll figure that out pretty soon." As he leaves, and basically goes off somewhere. As now I'm going to be describing some looks and features of Izuku. As you know, he looked exactly the same as in canon, but he changed up his look due to the fact that, he doesn't really want his parents to know it's him. He just changed it up. I don't know, that's just pure plot armor, why he changed his looks. That's just my plot. But, he changed up his looks, got himself long hair, dyed his hair, and he basically got himself a scar. A scar that will forever stay there as a reminder of his, failures. And that mark was not his failures, but a reminder of the bullying that has been going on in his life. And that mark was left by Shoto Todoroki. No, I'm not gonna say Todoroki. I'm gonna say it was left by Katsuki Bakugo when he used his explosions on him at the very first time. The very first time they started bullying him. That's basically when he got the scar. As Izumi thinks back to the boy, thinking about how good looking he is, but also how that scar basically reminds her about her brother. Not knowing it was actually her brother, she just, didn't really think about it as she continued on with the training. As now the 10 months are over, Izuku is now ready, as he brought a sword along with him, as he's now classified as quirkless. As the written exams, he aces it, claps the written exams, gets 100%. As he goes in to go for, the practical exam, his Bakugo is in his practical, also along with Izumi. While Todoroki and Shoka are both, recommended. As Katsumi is in a different section, doing her own exam. As Izuku, basically, Izuku, waiting for the gate to open, he basically goes up to the front, while a blue-haired boy tries to stop him from going near the girl he thinks Izuku is trying to hit on, but Izuku, knowing what he's about to do, taps sand out the way, saying, "Don't touch me." As he basically starts to jog up to the front, or walk up to the front, and breathes in. Gets into his stance, which looks very similar to the thunder breathing, as the ground begins to crack beneath him a little bit. As Uraraka, who was the girl who was at the front, looks down towards him, saying, "What are you?" But before she can finish, Deku, or Izuku, blasts off, jumps over the fence, and basically lands perfectly, and then starts massacring all these robots, getting insane amount of points. As in the 5 minutes, he started using all of his moves. I'm saying 3 moves so far, since I don't really know what to name the 4th and the 5th. But we continue, as he continuously cuts up all of the robots, as he yells, sun breathing, first form. What was it? Sun breathing. Second form. I completely forgot. I don't know what is going on. I completely forgot. Whoa, wait a minute. Let me just think about the first form again. How did I forget the first form easily? Like, come on now. Oh my days, bro. I totally forgot. Let me quickly just try to rethink it, man. Well, he basically uses the first form, right? I just totally forgot what the first form was that I actually called it. But he yells at the second form, which was basically the Himiko Kagura dance with the constant flux, as he yells, "The Dawn of the Dragons." Sun breathing, second form. Dawn of the Dragons. As he uses that move and slices up more robots, setting them ablaze. As he also yells, "Sun breathing, third form." The Dance of the Phoenix. Using that dance and just basically destroying as many robots as possible. As right now, Izuku is in the leading score, even surpassing All Might's records, as his record was right now 400 points. 400 robot points, basically. As Nezu, who was watching, and also other heroes who were watching, are very impressed with this guy's swordsmanship and his, so-called quirk. But Nezu checks that he's quirkless, so he doesn't really know, but doesn't really doubt the name, and keeps it a surprise, since he basically wants to keep this a surprise from All Might, Rinne-Hatake, which is Inko, and the rest of the heroes. I'm pretty sure Aizawa already knew, since, Nezu informed them earlier. But anyways, Izuku claps, and soon Nezu starts using the zero pointer, as the zero pointer basically tries to, well, end Uraraka, but Deku was there stopping it. Well, not really stopping it, just picking up Uraraka and bolting out of there, because he knew he couldn't really defeat it with his power so far. But he tried his best, basically moving as far away as possible, and then using his concentration breathing constant, and uses, well, his move, his basically the first form, sun breathing. What's the sun breathing form? What did I call it, man? Sun breathing. Bro, I can't remember the name, man. I really can't remember. I don't know if I called it Dragon's Blaze or something. I don't know, man. I really can't remember, but I'll try to remember it next part. But anyways, we continue. He basically used the first form, giving it a little cut, but nothing too major. As he uses his second form, giving it an even bigger cut, just trying to cut at it. But he knows cutting at its head or just his hands isn't really gonna work. So he basically aims for the joints, basically denting the joints and scratching up the joints a bit, as the joints are now broken. As if they're broken, well, you can't really do much about that, So anyways, we continue. So as I was saying, Deku basically, started cutting up the joints, and if the joints are broken or even damaged in the robot, the joints won't function correctly. As the joints started bugging out, as the robot basically falls over and gets defeated. Basically, Izuku gets some hero points for saving that girl. And now Izuku, after this exam was over, was confronted by Nezu and Aizawa. As Nezu looks at the young boy saying, "So Izuku Yagi, you will be having a scholarship here at UA. But I think I'm ended off here. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think I should continue? Comment yay or nay if I should continue. But I'll see you all in the next What If scenario. Peace."